Investigating the Seabees' eyewitness accounts, the Regal report to Senate on the 9th of September raised serious concerns about a possible link between Desert Storm syndrome and low-level exposure to chemical, biological and other hazardous agents in the Gulf. The report suggests Iraq may have used a mixed cocktail of chemical and biological toxins in its Scud and Frog missiles, a cocktail designed to defeat all precautions taken against known chemical or biological agents.
I was good when I went over there. It's when I came back when I started having problems.
What sort of problems?
First it started with headaches, which I still have. And I started passing out, started forgetting where I was supposed to be at. Started wanting to beat up everybody in the house, anxiety problems, disorientation, joint problems, bumps all over my body started coming out. And I was just a messed up person.
The report states that little is known of the long-term effect of non-lethal exposure to nerve agents, but statistics collated from the dates of Scud attacks show that the nearer the unit to an attack, the higher the incidence of illness.
We have reviewed all of that data and still have absolutely no evidence that any chemical agents or biologic agents, warfare agents, were used in the Gulf by the Iraqis or by anyone else for that matter.
Can't walk right, can't talk right. Yeah, memory, I can't remember right. Memory, you know, I lose my memory sometimes. Aching joints. It's hard to sleep with aching joints. But there's nobody can do anything about it, so I don't complain. If you complain to the wrong person, I don't think they'd do anything about it anyway.
While the US government continues to deny any chemical or biological exposure in Gulf soldiers, no one is testing them. But one doctor saw media coverage of the symptoms and believed he recognized them as those of a bacteria.
I think they have an infection, that the infection is manifest in their urine, and that makes a very easy way of testing for it. And I got urine specimens, and without exception, they were strongly positive. I think I've established that in 7 out of 7 and 2 wives, it's 9 out of 9, that the problem can be approached successfully. To my knowledge, this is the only 9 in remission in the country.
Craig Rubenstein is one of the 9 who have been able to afford private treatment with Dr. Hyman.
At least with cancer, I'd know what I had. I'd know what my chances were. Somebody could tell me something. I'd have some options, some treatments. Something could be done. Whereas, you know, the way it was, I was in limbo. You know, I was stuck in nowhere.
At 22 years old, Craig was flying helicopters in the Gulf. 6 months after returning to the States, he got sick, with muscle spasms, hair loss, fatigue, aching joints and headaches. He was grounded for months at a time.
Like, I did 2 more weeks at Walter Reed, and that time they really put me through the ringer, doing every test. I mean, they took bone marrow, everything. It wasn't fun, and it was all for nothing. They didn't find anything. And the whole time I was telling them about Dr. Hyman, and they're just blowing him off. Well, he couldn't possibly have figured this out if, you know, us geniuses here at Walter Reed couldn't figure it out.
Thousands of sick veterans can't afford the treatment. Craig's parents mortgaged their house to help their son.
I fly the H-64 Apache attack helicopter. It's the most advanced attack helicopter in the world. It's a $14 million aircraft. And to train an Apache pilot costs around $1 million. And the treatment costs in the neighborhood of $25,000. And to me, that's peanuts compared to, you know, what's $25,000 to $1 million pilot? It's nothing.
Since Dr. Hyman has been treating the Desert Storm syndrome, he has been in conflict with the Department of Veteran Affairs, who don't agree with his methodology. As well as facing Iraqi weaponry, soldiers were not given the means of protecting themselves against the pollutants of modern warfare. some soldiers were found to have contracted leishmaniasis, an endemic disease picked up from sandfly bites. Major Richard Haynes saw fellow reservists falling ill. He began documenting the symptoms and presented his evidence to Congress. He believes the sickness is an environmental one.
I developed a database of these soldiers and their exposures in the Gulf, learned about the various exposures, and documented over 50 types of exposures. There were soldiers down inside 5,000-gallon tankers swabbing down the insides without any protective wear. Their boots soaked in this stuff for days, and in their clothing, and in their hair. There's fuel in their shower water. They could not get away from these toxics.
Our shower water, and I hauled the water, it had diesel fuel mixed in with it because the system wasn't purged. Your pumps and your filter and your hose all has fuel in them if you put water in that tank.
Even after he returned home from the Gulf, when he would take a shower, his body would bubble, and you could actually smell the oil penetrating through my son's skin.
A lot of dead animals. We had dogs, cats, rats, you know, everything, every animal was dead in the whole area, so they had to spray to get rid of the carcasses.
There was a problem with mosquitoes and flies so bad. Our battalion had contacted somebody local to come in and spray. We have no idea what it was. The fellow spraying it couldn't tell us because he didn't speak English. And they would come in sometimes when we was getting ready to go to sleep, sometimes while we was eating a meal, and just drive through the area and fog the area up with just smoke.